Hi, I'm Aviva Goldfarb and welcome to another quick cooking video with the 6 o'clock scramble. And tonight I'm making a Japanese vegetable noodle soup. That is such a great family-friendly meal and you will see why. It also only takes about 10 minutes, so it's a super easy meal and it's going to taste like one of those delicious brothy, noodly soups that you can get in a Japanese restaurant. So the first thing we do is I put 64 ounces, so 2 cartons of this reduced sodium chicken broth, or you could use vegetable broth if you want an all-vegetarian meal, in a pot, and to that I've added 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, and I have a reduced sodium soy sauce. And the third thing that I'm going to add before I get it on the stove is a little bit of fresh ginger. And if you don't ever use fresh ginger, I highly recommend trying it. It is such a great ingredient. It'll make all of your Asian meals really come alive. Whoops, I got some of it on my recipe though. And I'm just throwing all my little scraps in here so that I can compost them later. Hope that doesn't scare you. So I'm just going to take a few nice thin slices with my chef's knife of this ginger and I'm going to throw it right in the pot and it's going to boil in there. Oops, it's going to boil in there with the broth. So I am going to go over to the stove where I will be bringing this to a boil. I'm going to put the heat on pretty high because I want this dinner to cook pretty quickly because the family is getting hungry. So I've got my ginger in there, and the next thing I'm going to do is prepare the vegetables that are also going to go in the soup. So I have here baby bok choy. You can use bok choy, you can even use regular cabbage in this, or Napa cabbage, but the Asian type cabbages are really the best if you can find them. And what I'm going to do here is slice off the ends. I'm going to throw that in my little bowl over there. And then I'm going to thinly slice it. So I'm bunching it all together with my hands. I've got my good grip on my chef's knife here. And I'm going to thinly slice it like this. And this is not going to be crunchy in the soup. It's going to boil down and be nice and tender. But it cooks really quickly because it is so tender. So I'm going to say, I guess about 1 little head. I want about 2 cups of this Napa cabbage, or this bok choy in this case. Got that nice thinly sliced. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to push it right over to the side. And the next ingredient that I'm going to add once I get it boiling are these cremini mushrooms, which are just a nice, they're actually baby portobello mushrooms. And I bought the pre-sliced kind just because it makes it a lot quicker. And I have 2 carrots, and what I'm going to do to give them, they're kind of thin carrots and I've peeled them. And to give them a little nice Asian flair, I am going to cut them on the diagonal like this. Very simple, doesn't matter if you don't do it that way, but it just gives them a nice dimension, and you can do them 1 at a time or 2 at a time. But because my carrots are different sizes, I'm going to do them 1 at a time now. Get a nice grip on that carrot so you don't slice off any fingers. We don't want any fingers in the soup. That would not make it taste quite as good. And going to do this one. So see how I have a good grip on my knife and a good grip on my carrots, and I'm making sure that my fingers don't get in the way. Just demonstrating some basic, easy knife skills. And then when I get down to the end, I'm going to throw those in there. And I'm going to get all my ingredients ready for when the soup comes to a boil so I can throw them in. So let's see, I've got my carrots. Oh yes, the third thing is tofu. And I know some people are not big tofu fans. You could use chicken in this, but I want you to give tofu a try. It's such a healthy, low-fat, heart-healthy ingredient. So this is how I cut tofu to make it super easy. I have 1 block of tofu that comes in this little package. I drained it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slice it through the long way like this 2 times. And then I am going to take it. You want to sort of be most efficient with your knife. So then I'm going to take it this way. Slice it, slice it, slice it, and then guess what I'm going to do if it doesn't fall off the cutting board, which it is. I'm going to turn my whole cutting board and slice it this way, and I'm going to have nice little cubes. I know that my cutting board is getting a little bit over full here, but I'm just like to play with fire sometimes. There we go. Okay, so now I've got all the next phase, and I'm going to go over and see if my soup is boiling yet. And if it is, I'm going to dump all of this stuff, gently push all of this stuff into the soup. Let's see how it's doing. Well, it's almost ready, so we're going to come back in just a minute when the soup is boiling, and we'll continue with the recipe. Well, the broth finally came to a boil, so I am going to add my bok choy, baby bok choy, and carrots and tofu into the pot, and I'm just going to do it right from here, carefully, stepping back so I don't splatter my sweater. And then I'm going to keep these at a boil. You know, this is a bit too much tofu. I think I only meant to add half of this, so we'll save the rest. I'm actually going to marinate the rest in teriyaki sauce, and we'll save that for later. I'm just going to use about half of this. I think that's what the recipe actually calls for. And I'm going to just watch this to keep it at a low boil, and then after these cook for about 2 minutes, let's see, cameraman, do you want to get a shot of the pot itself, or maybe later? Got Solomon, my son, the 12-year-old camera whiz over there on the camera. So what I'm going to do is, you know these top ramen oodles of noodles that people love? Well, the part of them that's really kind of unhealthy and yucky is these little sodium packets. So I'm taking those right out, but I'm going to use these. You can use real Japanese noodles if you can find them. But these are a nice, inexpensive, easy alternative, and we know how delicious they are. And they take only a couple minutes to cook, about 3 minutes to cook. So that's another benefit of it. So again, I'm going to take out these little salty packets and put them aside because we've made our own nice broth with the soy sauce and the ginger. We're going to be adding some rice wine later. So the vegetables have been cooking, let's just say they've been cooking about 2 minutes. And I'm going to take these ramen noodles, I'm going to break them so we don't have noodles that are too long, and pour them in there. Same thing with this packet. Now, while those cook for a couple more minutes, I'm going to get the next couple of ingredients ready. And actually, dinner is almost done. So we'll be right back at the other side of the kitchen in just a minute. So I've got my scallions. I'm going to take them over. And the other thing, the last secret ingredient that I'm going to put in there is, let me just see how much, 2 tablespoons of rice wine or mirin. And this just gives it a little bit of a sweet wine. It gives it an absolutely fabulous flavor. So I'm going to take these over. Are you coming with me, or are you doing a long shot? Okay. And dump in the scallions. Get the last few out of there. I'm going to stir them in. And then I'm going to take my rice wine, 2 tablespoons, oops, 1, 2. And once that's in there, you don't want it to cook too much longer, but actually the soup is done. So I am going to bring in my special guest tester, Celia, the ramen lover, Goldfarb. Turn this way down. Hello, Suerte. Suerte wants to test too, but he's not going to get to this time. So I'm going to get a little ladle of this soup. I'll try to get some of the noodles in there. And the tofu and the vegetables. Whoopsie. See if we can get that noodle in there. In or out? In or out? And this is not Celia's whole dinner. This is just a little taste. You want to taste?
Okay, sure.
Tell me if it needs anything. Blow, blow, blow. Maybe we should have stuck an ice cube in there. Just take a little taste. Taste it's hot.
It tastes a lot like miso soup. It's really good.
Yeah. Oh, you're having another bite already? That's a good sign. Okay, looks like the soup is a success. So thanks for joining me. This is Japanese noodle soup, and I'll have the recipe on the screen soon.